Donkey Kong Country is the best 2D platformer franchise of all time. The original trilogy are some of not just the best games on the Super Nintendo, but some of the best looking and sounding games, and I mean ever, of all time. I might be a little bit biased. Because of the creative decision to use 3D pre-rendered sprites rather than traditional 2D ones, I think the game has aged gracefully. Others might think the opposite, but others are wrong. It looks unique and so memorable, and the soundtracks are phenomenal in these games. All of them, even the newer ones. Donkey Kong Country Returns was the perfect return to form. It's unfortunate it released on the Wii with the goofy motion controls, but the 3DS port, which I played first, is a masterpiece. Now there's a full HD re-release on the Switch. Tropical Freeze is up there with the best modern 2D platformers, up there with Mario Wonder, Celeste, Sonic Mania, Rayman Legends, but the aggregate quality of all 5 of these games is far higher than the aggregate quality of any other 2D platforming franchise. Each and every single one of these games are masterful works of art. I'll get to these two at a later date. Fancy effects, right? Fucking I'm stepping up the production values. But today we're talking about the original SNES trilogy. First and foremost, you boot into this game and you're treated to this pleasant little tune. Then Donkey Kong takes the reins and you get your first taste of how amazing this game's soundtrack is. Then you're dropped into the first world. Just listen to that. I've used this as background music for countless videos because it's just that perfect in-between. It's not too subtle, but it's not too harsh on the ears either. It's bouncy, but not too aggressive. And that goes for all of the music in this game. Here are a few highlights. Enough about the music. What about the gameplay, damn it? Well, immediately this game gets extra points for being able to play as a funny monkey, but 2 funny monkeys. Now you're talking! These stages have such an insane variety. Regular platforming, the barrel blasts jumping between ropes and the auto-scrolling sections, the minecart sections, everything is razor tight. The 2 Kongs control slightly differently. These big guys here are able to bully Diddy till he goes and gets Donkey Kong and get fucked. There's always a sense of tension in these levels because they're hard as nails. Yes, this game is difficult, but it's authentic. It's not just a bunch of random prehistoric bullshit thrown at you. These levels were forged and honed to perfection by Prime Rareware. Y'all don't know Prime Rareware, man. These guys were... Look at this lineup. Look at the games these guys made. Oh my goodness. Is there a more legendary run than this? Look at this. Look at how good this game looks still to this day. You'd think these pre-rendered sprites would look like antiquated by modern standards, but they're still so good. Every creature in this game is just so cartoony and expressive, and the animations are so fluid, especially for the time it was released. The controls are great too, which is necessary for navigating these stages. Just look at the dynamicism of environments and all the weather effects. The total visual variety of these stages. Jungle, night jungle, cave, underwater, factory, minecart, mine shaft, temple, Endor. Is that a fucking Ewok in the background? Snowy mountain, crystal cave, green water. Also, the design of King K. Rool is awesome and would grow to be one of the most iconic Nintendo characters, but this boss fight is cruel. No pun intended. Puts Elden Ring to shame. You would think the sequel would hit some of the same beats, but honestly, barely. Donkey Kong Country 2 also has an immense catalogue of variety with its visual stage themes. Donkey Kong is replaced by Dixie, who has this very useful hair whip, which basically just slows her descent. Playing this one, I noticed immediately there are new animations that have been added, like climbing the ropes, for example, like these little in-between frames here. Look at the funny celebrations. Dixie with the guitar, Diddy with his boombox. Such catchy little jingles. Look, just have a listen to them. especially that Diddy one, that little like. It doesn't feel terribly derivative of the first game either. Obviously, there is some blatant similarities as it is a sequel and not an entirely different game. Similarities with the art style and just a general vibe of the game. Like, you can tell that it's Donkey Kong Country 2, but it does have its own look and feel, especially with the unique controls of Dixie. Also, this game has this song. Which basically automatically makes the game a 10 out of 10. In fact, this stage, or rather stage template, because there are a couple that use this general kind of look, are highlights. Maybe I'm biased because the song's so good, but whatever. This game has way more funky stages, like wind levels, loads more minecart levels with like unique gimmicks now, like the timers. There's a deeper integration of the animal transformations, Squitter with his web platforms, as you can see here, Rattly's momentum-based jumps, and Squawks. Lads, I love you, but I just cannot seem to get a hold of these controls. Like, I'm an idiot, I know, but I died so much on his stages, it's stupid. Boss fights get a lot more creative and ambitious in the sequel too. All in all, this game purely adds on top of what the first had already built. It's literally more of the first game, with some ever so slight improvements in some areas. Here's where it takes a step back though. It's just way too fucking hard. The first game is hard, but not unplayable. Getting towards the latter quarter of this game, it gets so ball-blisteringly difficult, I had to put it down for a few days at a time. Especially this fucking honey level, my goodness. These stages are checkpointed, but like, not really. You get 1 or 2 and they're very sparse. Like if you die, you're losing like 3 to 4 minutes of progress at a time. Oh, and you thought K. Rool was bad at the end of Donkey Kong Country 1. They took him and mainlined gallons of every performance enhancing drug right into his reptilian arse cheek for this one. He has like a million phases and will stop at nothing until he's consumed every last drop of your blood. Holy shit, this took me days, I'm not even kidding. Maybe I just suck, but there's no denying this fucker is crazy difficult. So yeah, Diddy's Quest is nowhere near as fondly remembered as the first, probably largely due to the fact it simply just didn't sell as many copies and hasn't seen as much promotion with re-releases as the original in recent years. While it's technically better in some aspects, and I really like the additions, it's just harder than it needs to be, in my opinion. Which is always correct. But the true red-headed stepchild of the original trilogy is, of course, the third game. And yet again, even more so this time, it's a real shame because this game adds more than the first two did. It's partially non-linear, has a freely explorable map with optional areas. Kiddy Kong is basically just cycling back around to Donkey Kong in terms of how he controls, but I like him a lot because he reacts the same way I do whenever he dies. It has even more gimmick stages, low gravity sections, stuff like that. The bosses feel a bit more traditional, like other 16-bit bosses. Just like all the games, this one is no stranger to little Easter eggs and awesome attention to detail. Listen closely and hear what Wrinkly Kong is playing on that N64 there. Because you can freely roam, you can run back and forth to the save point after each little nudge of progress you make, which it's a shame that wasn't an option in the first two, because it's a very real possibility that you run out of lives in these games and end up losing several levels worth of progress, and nobody wants that. That's just dumb, but I'm not going to dock points since it's just a sign of the times. It was commonplace in the 8-bit and 16-bit eras. However, I am going to give points to the third game for working around that. I think the difficulty for this one falls somewhere between the first and the second. It's a touch easier than the second. There weren't any stages I got stuck on for more than a handful of attempts. Unfortunately for Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie's Revenge, it released in 1996. Indeed, 5 months after Mario 64 released on Nintendo's next console. So it was incredibly overshadowed and obviously didn't sell very well, which is a shame because of the quality of life improvements this game makes. It also hands out lives much more consistently than the first two games. They genuinely tried to make this game the ultimate culmination of the last two. It was destined to fail with this release schedule. Regardless of its fiscal performance, this game, as well as its two predecessors, are still all so good. The art style, the controls, the music, that too, the memorable gimmicky stages and transformations. It really doesn't get better. Or does it?